It was the evening of the filming of another YouTube video, and Joyce was doubting her clothing choice. It might not be obvious to most people, but a lot of thought actually went into her attire for each video. Because of today's topic, she wanted to make sure she wore something that popped, something that represented her. In the end, she opted to switch her blush satin shirt and pants for a red suit. After all, red had always been a flattering color for her. Of course, she couldn't forget about splashing herself in perfume. Although she was alone in front of the camera, smelling good was about more than presentation. It was also a form of aromatherapy. Eventually, she sat back down in front of the camera and growled in satisfaction. Finally, she was ready.
It's a life full of hope. It's a life full of joy. No more fear in my corner. I'm already fulfilled.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of A Life Full of Joyce, where I share about love, joy, and freedom until your cup runneth over. Now, whether you are a returning viewer or it is your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you won't have to stumble upon me next time. You'll just receive a notification. Last time, we discussed about reclaiming your narrative. But what is a narrative without a main character? In today's video, we'll discuss 4 mindset, which can be the beginning, the genesis of you having main character energy. This is not an exhaustive list. There is always more, but it will be a good start. So without further ado, let's go ahead with mindset number 1. Not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes they wear red lipstick or a brown lip combo like what I'm wearing right now. The important point here is that in order for you to have main character energy, you need to treat yourself like the main character. We could discuss styles and aesthetics all day long, but what matters is for you to present yourself in a way that highlights you in your own eyes. However that may look for you, taking care of yourself is a form of self respect and self love and is imperative when it comes to treating yourself like the most important character of your story. Now, your style might not please everyone, but you need to make sure that it pleases you and that it attracts the type of people that you want to interact with. What matters the most is that this style needs to be well put together. As long as there is effort that goes into the style that you choose, this is already effort that you have put towards yourself, meaning that you're worth the effort, meaning that you're worth being the main character. At the end of the day, even if you're not perfect, at least you did put efforts towards yourself. For those of you who follow me on TikTok, you might have seen that clip of me barefaced with a shower cap on my head and looking absolutely ridiculous. But even in that moment, I felt confident because I was actively taking care of myself. So when it comes to your appearance and self-care, do understand that it is not vanity. There are both tools that you can use in order to tell the story, tools that you can use in order to let yourself know that this person right here is worth investing in and their story is worth listening to. When I think about how my style has evolved throughout the years, I realize that every single era also told a different story. I had an era where I fit more the Korean dream aesthetic with all the flashy colors and a lot of different things. I also had the boyish era that I mentioned before, where every time I would go inside of the store, I would go straight to the boy section. I also had a grunge era where I was rocking my natural hair more with space buns and very dark lipstick. I'm pretty sure I could find a picture of myself with my favorite lipstick at the time, gray lipstick. I remember even having these boots, and the heel was like this big. I also had the cute Korean era with the goddess hair and the circle lenses and the little flowery dresses. This was really cute. This was extremely cute. And I have this era now where it's like pretty professional, not pretty professional as in really professional, but I mean pretty professional. Every era presented me as a different person, not only to myself, but to everyone else around me. Even royals, all throughout history, used to dress with all those luxurious and colorful fabrics, not just for the sake of showing their luxury, but in order to create in the mind of the people the idea that they were indeed related to gods. And this is something you can do for yourself. We can create different aesthetics, different alter egos through the way in which we present ourselves, whether through how we dress, how we speak, how we move. All in all, you get to choose how you present yourself every single day. What matters is for you to polish yourself and refine yourself every day and choose what your red cape or super suit or red lipstick will be. Conclusion for mindset number 1: polishing your appearance in whatever way you choose to do so is a way to highlight and honor yourself as an important person in your life, communicate a portion of yourself to others and the world around you. Extra tips: pick one distinctive trait or quirk or attribute which makes you feel like the main character. For me, it's perfume, among other things. Moving on to mindset number 2: sometimes the main character is awkward. Sometimes the main character is awkward, and I would even dare to say the MCs that we love the most are those who are not perfect, because that's how they become relatable. This is why the anti hero, although it lacks noble qualities, is one of the archetypes that we love in stories. To be honest, I consider myself to be an anti hero, and I'm fine with that. Regardless of the archetype that you decide to go for, what matters is that if you believe that you're the main character, you'll have to accept that there will be times when you will feel awkward because the main character doesn't always have it all figured out. There will be times when you'll be learning and stumbling and trying new things. And yes, at that time, it will be awkward. But the beautiful thing is that, as mentioned earlier, you get to choose who you are every single morning. In life, there are unequivocal truth that cannot be shaken. However, besides those truths, everything else is subjective, meaning that you get to have a say in it. As I've mentioned multiple times before, I am religious. And one thing that I hear often from people is they wish God would just choose their job, their husband, their place of living. But to be honest, a lot of these things are just up to you. Because at the end of the day, whether you are a lawyer or a doctor does not determine if you go to heaven or hell. A lot of people speak as though they would like everything to be predestined, but honestly, I don't think we would be that happy with that. So, whether you're religious or you believe in faith or you're spiritual, do understand that a lot of this life is subjective. You can even try a new trait every month, which is why I mentioned in the past that I don't believe we are confined even to the limits of our personality, because you get to choose whether you want to change it or not. And as soon as you've decided to change it, you already no longer are this person. This becomes something that you're fighting against, not something that is part of you. So tell me in the comments below, who do you choose to be today? To go back to the main mindset, because we have this amount of freedom, if you decide to be the main character, that indeed means that you will have moments of awkwardness because you won't always have it figured out. Perhaps at this point in your life, you want to be more of an emotional person. And maybe in the next stage of your life, you will want to be more of a rational person. I'm not saying that either one of those two is better than the other. Both are good. But what I'm saying is that it is possible for you to change your mind. And therefore, in the midst of you becoming who you truly are, there will also be times of awkwardness and uncertainty. But all of that is part of your character development. Conclusion for mindset number 2: although this world holds unequivocal truths, a lot of this life is subjective. Therefore, you are free to become whoever you choose to be. However, this also means there will be moments of awkwardness and uncertainty in the midst of the transitions, and that's okay. The main character doesn't always have it all figured out. Extra tips: 1. Pick one character trait you want to adopt and work towards starting today. 2. Pick a personality archetype. Mindset number 3: sometimes the MC makes mistakes. When you read a story and the MC is way too overpowered or has a perfect moral compass, it actually makes things quite boring. It makes things predictable and unrelatable to us. So this goes hand in hand with the way in which I just concluded the previous point. Rather than seeing someone who always knows where they are going, what is right, always makes the right decisions, what we want to see is someone who makes mistakes, someone who is uncertain, who doesn't know where they are going, and ends up figuring it out. Now, when it comes to making mistakes, what I'm saying is it is okay for you to make a decision, for you to take a certain step, and for you to be wrong. You will most definitely do things that you'll hate yourself for, or you will judge yourself for. You will do things that will seem right at first and then will lead you to question, how did that even help me move forward? And all of that is okay because here we are talking about being the main character, but at the end of the day, you are a real person. And again, when it comes to a main character, the beauty of seeing them being awkward, making mistakes, is that all those things allow us to humanize them and relate to them. Therefore, it is okay for you to make mistakes as well. Being the main character doesn't mean that you have to shine without flaws. It simply means that you're worth it. One thought that can also help you move past the pressure of needing to be perfect at all times is to understand that people don't really care like that. Seeing yourself as the main character of your own life means that you become your main focus. And the truth is, you will not be the main focus for most people, even the people that love you the most. Even the people who play an important role in your life will simply play their part and then go back to focusing on themselves. Do understand a lot of people are actually very self centered, although I would argue that a lot of us are not doing it in the proper way or being fully honest about it, which does cause a lot more issues. However, you can use that to your advantage in understanding that you get to try whatever you want and no one is going to care about it more than that. You could go in the street right now and just yell, and at best, you might get some sideways glances, or if you're really unlucky, somebody's going to film you and then you're going to end up on TikTok or whatever social media and you're going to become a meme. But that's just the worst case scenario. But at the end of the day, most people will not think about it more than that. And even if there was someone who was fully focused on everything that you are doing, they would either be rooting for you or betting against you. Whichever it is, it wouldn't matter because this would simply be their own opinion and would have no impact on your story unless you let it. As the main character, what would matter most would not be someone else's opinion, but your own. Because what moves you every day, what guides all of your actions is your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own opinions. So, all in all, do not feel bad about seeing yourself as the main character because you're not perfect. The main character is meant to make mistakes, and making mistakes is okay. Conclusion for mindset number 3: there will be times when you will make mistakes and when you'll be terribly wrong. More often than not, you'll have to face the consequences of said mistakes, and that is okay. It is your first time living life, and you are here to learn. You are a real person. I'm a real boy! And the best main characters are those who feel the most real. Moreover, real people are not that focused on others. Most will not notice your mistakes, and even if they do, the main point of view you should focus on is your own. Extra tips. 1. Give yourself grace. Now, lastly, for mindset number 4, the MC tells a story, not a moment. I feel like I was flexing way too much when I put that 4 up. Yeah. I don't know how many times I have already mentioned this concept of moment versus whole. In the past, I've mentioned it as moment versus relationship. Today, I will mention it as moment versus story. Now, this is very important. Your life is your story. It is all about where you came from, where you are going, where you are now. You will have a plethora of goals and meet many different people, but you have to remember one thing. This story, the core of the story, is all about you. I've mentioned life goals before, how people expect you to check off everything on a checklist in order to prove that your life was worthy. However, The main character is not centered around any goal. You have goals and motivations, and they move you forward. But your life is never just about that goal. The main character is not love centered or male centered. The main character is not job centered. The main character is also self centered. Another term that might sit better with a lot of people would be self motivated. If I am going after something, it is not because anyone is pressuring me, whether it is someone specific or society. It is not because people are watching. It is not because internally I believe that I have to have this thing. If I'm going for something, I'm going for it because I want to. One thing that has been very difficult for me in the context of changing is when people with good intentions tell me you should change this. People are watching. What are they going to think? Why would I care and change who I am simply because people are watching? Don't you know how fleeting a person's opinion can be? Don't you know how easily people will resort to assumptions? Don't you know how easily people will judge you, even if you put your utmost effort in proving them wrong? Therefore, it's very difficult for me to find motivation when the argument is people are watching. Of course, now I can see a little bit more value in the opinion of others as feedback. However, it is never a motivation. Similarly, it is important for the main character to find their motivation not in other people, not in outside forces, but in themselves. No one else but you can be the main character of your life because this story is about who you are, where you were, where you are going. And when it comes to that trajectory, anyone else coming into your life can never be the main character. They haven't been there since the beginning. They can never fully understand your motivations. And although they might be able to give you advice, they will never have the full scope of what you know about yourself. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask for advice. I'm not saying that you shouldn't seek wisdom. Of course, do so. But at the end of the day, the point of view that you're working with will always be your own. Even if you're in a relationship today, you could have a new partner tomorrow. Although, for better or worse, you're pretty much stuck with your family, you still get to decide whether you will go along with the advice that they give, with the will they have for your life, etc. You are the constant. Everything else is variables. I don't know if you ever heard that story of a young woman who had amnesia. And when she woke up, she began to ask all of her loved ones about what kind of person she was. And as she went around asking, she realized that every single person had a different way of describing her. And this only made it more difficult in knowing who she was actually. But the truth about who she was would have lied first and foremost with herself. Now, going back to this concept of moment versus story. This is very important for us to understand because it is very easy for people to hyper focus on just one moment, one chapter of my life, and lose sight of the rest of the story that is still unfolding. But it's important to remember that whatever I am going through is only a moment, only a line, only a chapter in that story. Even when I read online, I prefer to go for stories that have already been fully written. However, most stories, yours included, have not been fully told yet. And that's the beauty of it all. Nothing is set in stone yet. I personally haven't published anything yet, but I love to write stories for that very purpose. You can make things go however you would want it to be. You can write the story that you want. And this is true not just as an author, but for every single person. So go ahead and choose what you want your story to be. And although you can't control the outcome, keep pushing your story in the way that you want. At the end of the day, the fact that you can't control the outcome will only make things more fun. So wherever you are standing now, look forward to what the future holds. We can look forward to it together. Okay, let's look forward to it together. Conclusion for mindset number 4. Although communication and receiving advice from others is a good thing, always trust yourself enough to understand yourself through your own point of view. Your story is more than a moment, especially if that moment is recounted through someone else's perspective. Rather, your story is a series of moments and you are at the core of all of them. Extra tips. 1. Differentiate your goals and accomplishments from who you are in essence. 2. Take the time to consider the moments of your life are not your entire story. You are more than your worst or even best moment. You are more than what people say of you. This is all for today's video. I do feel like the vibe was a little bit different, but I did like it. If you also did like today's vibe, or if there is something else that you've been doing in order to nurture the main character energy in yourself, please let me know in the comments below, as it also allows us to interact with one another and will also boost this video until the next one. Until then, whether you're still blending in the background or you have finally decided to step in the role of the main lead of your life story, remember, nevertheless, it is a life full of joy.
It's a life full of hope. It's a life full of joy. No more
I
fear
have a
in
new
my
setup.
corner.
This is my screen.
I'm
This
already
is the
fulfilled.
middle. This is the camera. I don't know which one looks better. Just let me know. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oui, tu me déranges.
Oh, sorry. Tu filmes encore?
Ben là, je filme pour de vrai.
Ok. Coucou! Salut tout le monde!